Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Home Expo Podcast. I'm your host, Tammie Hartman, and I invite experts to share insights that empower homeowners and industry professionals alike. Today's episode is geared towards sales teams and business owners who want to elevate their in-person sales performances. Whether you manage a showroom or at an expo, or even run a retail operation. Our guest today is Eric Lofholm. He's a master sales trainer, author, and CEO of the Eric Lofholm International. Early in his career, Eric struggled with sales and was placed on quota probation. I'm sure we've all been on quota probation. After learning from top sales trainers, he became the company's top producer and discovered that sales is a learned skill. He went on to found his own firm where he has trained tens of thousands of professionals and authored more than 15 books. Yeah, 15. Eric's philosophy that selling equals service underpins his approach to teaching the fundamentals of lead generation, appointment setting, and customer relationships. As many of our listeners know, this is one thing that we don't think about when we are at a trade show or we're trying to talk to people face to face. There's a lot of different ways that sales professionals are reaching out to vendors. We are setting up Zoom calls to have that one-on-one feeling of talking to a live person, not just Googling a company. So I wanted to ask Eric, I wanted to say good morning, Eric. Thanks again for joining us. We're so happy to have you.
Good morning. It's great to be here.
If you're not aware, Eric has a morning sales boost on Facebook, and it is Monday through Friday at 7:45 a.m. It's a 15-minute call, and you can join or you can join the replay. He offers tips and tricks and actual sales boosting techniques. This is free, and he's amazing. So we will put all the links at the bottom of the comments section for you to join the morning sales team meeting. I wanted to talk about how you turned your failure into a mission. I mean, why did you start your own training company, and how has mentorship transformed you to be a top producer?
Well, thanks for the question, Tammie, and I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to share these ideas for all of our listeners, and my hope is that the information that I share with you today, you can implement, take action on, and increase your sales. That's the whole point of why my company exists. And part of my natural gifting, I believe we're all born with natural gifts and talents, and part of my gifting is teaching. And I started off as a sales failure, as you indicated in the introduction. And I met a mentor. He's still my mentor, Dr. Donald Moyne. When I was on quota probation, I was introduced to his ideas. And with his help and the help of his ideas, I became the top producer within 60 days of learning about Dr. Moyne. This is back in the early 1990s. And once I had Dr. Moyne's ideas, because of my love of teaching, I began to teach others what he had taught me. And I didn't do it for a business. I didn't have a company at that point. I wasn't a coach. I was just teaching for the love of teaching. Hey, here's some tips. Here's some things that I learned that helped me. And I started producing some pretty incredible sales results and people I was working with. And I was in my mid 20s at that point in my life. And I then went and worked for Tony Robbins. I'm sure most of you, if not all of you listening, have heard of motivational superstar Tony Robbins. And I worked for Tony as an employee for 3 years in the mid to late 90s.
Wow.
And yeah, it was a great experience. And my mind expanded, as you can imagine, when you're associating with somebody like Tony, you start thinking.
Yeah.
And I decided that I wanted to create this mission of helping people make more sales. And I wanted to plant my flag with that idea that I was going to dedicate the rest of my life. This is back in 1999 when I declared this. that I was
Mhm.
going to dedicate the rest of my career to helping people make more sales. And the good news is selling is a learned skill, and
Mhm.
there's, hundreds of different things that we all can do, that if we do any of these things, you can see an immediate increase. So just as one example, for your next trade show that you do,
Mhm.
if you visualize prior to doing the trade show, like what is the outcome, and you visualize people coming to your booth and getting their contact information, and whether
Mhm.
you're selling at the trade show or you're generating leads at the trade show, and you visualize putting those leads into your CRM, or however you keep your leads organized, and meeting with them over Zoom or whatever your process
Mhm.
is, and you see, Tammie, this being successful, and then
Right.
you visualize it again, and then again, and you might visualize it 6 times, maybe even more. When it comes time for the trade show, you've already experienced the success of the trade show
Mhm.
in your subconscious.
Right.
So this is one easy to implement tip, and there's, 100 or more different techniques that all of you
Mhm.
can do that will make you better and make you more effective and will bring more sales to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I try and go around my trade show and talk to the salespeople, like, "What are you doing? How are your sales?" And they say it's not good. But when I'm walking past them, they're on their phone, and 3 people have walked past them. It's like, "Stay off your phone. Say hi, smile."
Yeah.
And most of the vendors that are successful are the ones that are not on their phone. They stand up, they're ready to greet, and it's amazing, just a little tiny tweak like that. Um,
Well, let's
so
just stay with that idea for just a second. So,
yes.
you know, we're all addicted to our phones, and
Yes.
Steve Jobs and these guys at Silicon Valley, super smart people, and they figured out, how do we get addicted to our phones? And so now you go to the trade show, you've got your booth there, you're there to sell, you're there to generate leads, and we have this phone addiction. And so what you would do is you would literally write it down in advance of the trade show, and say, I'm going to stay off my phone for this trade show. Exactly what you said. I'm going
Mhm,
to smile at people. I'm going to
mhm,
be my outgoing self. And I identify as an introvert, right? But if I'm doing a
mhm.
trade show, I got to put on my extroverted hat,
Yes.
and I got to put myself out there, and I got to connect with people. Because
Mhm,
even if you're introverted like me, we have the ability to be extroverted. And a lot of you are extroverted, and that's why you're doing trade shows. But the bottom line is, you consciously create how you're going to show up at this trade show. You're going to
mhm,
take the trade show to the finish line. So if the show ends at Sunday at 5, you're going to say, okay, I'm going to give great effort until Sunday at 5 with a great attitude. My goal is to get this many leads. I'm going to connect with this many people. I'm going to give my card, whatever your goals are. And you
mhm,
decide that in advance, and then you powerfully show up at the show. Now, if you do that, you're going to see an increase. It's 100%, excuse me, 100% predictable
mhm.
that you'll have a greater experience at the trade show.
Yep, exactly. Yep, I'm I'm right there with you. So what are like some of the fundamentals that we can master? For instance, like the core skills every person needs, including like lead generation, appointment setting, and consistent follow up. I know that some people think, oh, there's only X amount of people showing up at the trade show, but if you've got 1,000 to 10,000 people showing up, it's like, but how many of those are actually qualified? So, what kind of and maybe you already covered this, but what kind of fundamental skills are those? Like more of the soft skills that we don't learn when we're learning how to work in corporate America, for instance? What do you think?
Well, let's talk about the mindset of mastery.
Mm-hmm.
So, when we're working towards mastery, part of that idea is we're always the student. There's
Mm-hmm.
no destination to arrive to. Like, we're not climbing a mountain, you get to the top and you put the flag down, you get the photo for social media and say, "Hey, I climbed the mountain. I made it." Mastery is a lifelong pursuit. And when we're looking at the fundamentals, like lead generation, like referrals, like follow up, like appointment setting, closing, demoing, strategic storytelling, different techniques like this. And instead of saying, I did a couple of modules on lead generation, check the box, got it, move on to the next thing.
Mhm.
It's no, I'm going to work on lead generation and that idea and that skill set. And I'm going to work towards mastery of that skill set for the rest of my career. And part of why there's value in that is that things are changing. 10 years
Mhm.
ago, we didn't have AI and chat GPT.
Right.
20 years ago, we didn't have so social media as a
Mhm.
thing. Certain techniques, trust and report techniques are tried and true. They're going to be around for the rest of our lives. And then we have these different advances in technology. And so I have a mindset of continuous sales improvement and I
Mhm.
work towards the mastery of my skills. I'm always the student, even though I've been doing this for 27 years teaching sales. I'm always the student,
Mhm.
and if you have that mindset, that can help you make a lot more sales.
Can you express some of your listening skills, like effective communication? What kind of questions can we ask to tailor the message to the customer's needs? I mean, if it's, obviously, if it's a paving company, they're going to want to talk to people who are interested in paving. But what kind of questions that are like replicable questions that we can ask a homeowner, for instance? I noticed that some of the vendors just have this thing where they say, "Oh yeah, we have a special." That's it. That's all they're saying to these people. Or, come get a free estimate. They're not really connecting with the person. They're just like, here's my product and shoving it in their face. So, how can we like encourage people to come into their booth without just saying, come check out my product? What do you think?
Yeah, well, a couple things. One thing about listening is that we each have our own model of the world.
Mm,
So your model of the world, Tammie, as the creator of the show, the person doing the interview,
mhm,
is different than my model of the world, being the guest,
mhm,
is different than the model of the world of the person that's listening to this,
mhm,
right? Somebody listening to this could be out doing selling on the front line at trade shows. Somebody else might be listening and they have a team of 5 people that do
mhm,
these trade shows. So they're listening for ideas to share with their team. So the point of it is that to really connect with people, we want to speak into their listening. So when we're at a trade show, we have our outcome. I'm here to, make sales, generate leads, get more exposure for my product. But then you've got the person at the trade show and they might be there for an outing with their spouse. you know, that's their listening. You
yeah.
know, they didn't come to buy anything. They came there because this is a fun thing my spouse and I like to do. And we get it. So it, when we're communicating with somebody, to understand that their listening is different than ours. If they have a ball cap on, um, I happen to be a Giants fan, San Francisco Giants fan. I grew up in the Bay Area, and my client that I spoke to yesterday, he is a die-hard Dodgers fan. Okay, and
Yes.
they're
LA Dodgers fan.
they're the rival of San Francisco, and so uh, I've never even told them I'm a Giants fan. Because the
Uh-huh.
Dodgers just won the World Series. And so I'm like, hey, how about that game? And he lit up like a Christmas tree. He was so excited to talk about
Yeah.
his beloved Dodgers. And I want to connect with him.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm speaking into his listening. And we spent 5 minutes of the coaching call talking
Mhm.
about the Dodgers and how excited he is. And I never even bothered to tell him I'm a diehard Giants fan because it doesn't, in me coaching him,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Right.
I'm a Giants fan. What I want to connect with him.
Right.
And so I know if I talk Dodgers, he's going to be all excited. And so the point of this is that people, they have their clothing, they have the way their hairstyle, they're wearing a
Mhm.
cap, they're not wearing a cap, they're pushing a stroller, right? So
Mhm.
there's all these connection points that have nothing to do with selling your product, but they have everything to do with connecting.
Mm.
So the
That's
first step in the sales process is trust and rapport. So
oh.
if I see somebody pushing a stroller, my kids are grown, but I could say, I remember those days,
Mhm.
when I was pushing a stroller. How old is your daughter? Oh,
Mhm.
my daughter. So do you have any other kids? Nope, that's the only one. I remember what it was like when my son was born. It was just my son, and then eventually I had my daughter, but I remember those days,
Mhm.
and I can connect with that person, and the next thing you know, they're in my booth, and I'm
Yeah.
talking to them. Now I'm showing them different things, and so that's one example. Um,
Mhm.
Another just simple thing with AI, type into ChatGPT and say, I'm doing this trade show. Put in
Mhm.
the ChatGPT the website of the trade show. Right? I'm
Uh-huh.
doing this trade show. Here's the website. Here's my company website,
Mhm.
and I'm looking for best questions to ask somebody at the trade show to get them to engage with me. ChatGPT, what do you think? And then they're going to come up with a bunch of ideas that maybe none of them are good, but maybe there's a couple that are great, or maybe they're all great.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right? And then you talk to your other fellow people on the team. If you have a sales team and you ask them, what are the questions that you ask? You can, when you're out interacting with people at the show and you're taking a break from your booth, say, hey, what do you say to people to grab their attention? Right? And you just start noticing, what are other people saying? And you're curious, right, for these
Mhm.
questions, because once you might come up with a phenomenal question that all of a sudden gets people engaging with you at a higher level.
Mhm. Yeah, I remember when I was a vendor working the floor, and it wasn't about come into my booth, it was more about just saying hello and thanks for coming to the show, or complimenting them. It's that human connection, and I think that in the last 5 years we've kind of lost that, but it's coming back by having more Zoom calls if you can't meet in person, and really making that human connection like you said. I remember when my kid was little, or whatever it is, or you guys connected on baseball. It doesn't matter what team, doesn't matter who won the Series, but go Dodgers. um, but it's that commonality, finding that unity, and that just that human connection in general, that gets people to open up and relax. We're not trying to shove something down your throat. We're just trying to say hello. And I think that that's important. And that's what we're trying to do with this podcast, for whoever's listening, is that this is a nationwide podcast, and we want everybody to connect, not just in California, but all over the country. Um, it's really important for that. And I wanted to talk a little bit about your corporate training. So I know that you offer some packages for corporations, and can you talk a little bit about how you design the seminars for sales teams of different sizes, industries, and the benefits of investing in professional development? I mean, the world is changing 100 times a day, if not a second, with AI, Chat GPT. So, can you talk a little bit about that topic?
Yeah, if we go back to how I got into sales training in the first place, I love to teach, and
Mm,
I love working with teams. Well, when I'm working with teams, a team is made of several individuals, right?
mm,
So it's not
yeah.
really yes, it's the team training, but it's connecting with individual salespeople, and it's giving them enthusiasm and hope and optimism and real tools that are going to help them make more sales. And so,
Mhm,
very commonly, I'll start off with a company and I'll do a training for free. No cost, no obligation. Just, hey, let me just pour into your people. I love doing that. And then they can see how their team responds to my
mhm,
message, and they can have an experience of me training without making a financial investment. That's one possibility. Working with teams on their talk tracks or their scripts. What are you saying to the prospect? And how do
mhm,
you prepare your presentation in advance? And I love doing accountability with salespeople. One of my recent accounts, I do end of day accountability with all of the salespeople, and it's a way to build connection and build relationship. And then there
mhm,
might be do a keynote. They've got a conference coming up, and they're looking for a keynote speaker or somebody who's in the trenches. I'm out selling every single day, and so there's a variety of ways that I can work with a team, but I love starting off and just let me just pour into your team and do one for free and let them experience it. And then from there, we can see about the possibility of me working with them.
That's amazing, Eric. I know that you offer a lot of your services for free. There's workshops, there's the Facebook groups that you have. And I mean, I don't know anybody with your education and background and experience that offers any kind of help and information. And I know for me, you have helped me immensely over the last couple of years that I've been following you and asking you questions when I see you in person. And it has really helped me in the way that I communicate with people. So, yeah, there'll be links down below for upcoming free workshops. And if you want to get together with Eric, we will definitely have those links down below. Um, and what about like technology? I know that you talked about AI and Chat GPT, but what kind of like CRM systems and digital tools to track leads, how to manage a pipeline and improve customer service? I mean, how big or what CRM technologies do you suggest? I mean, some people use an Excel sheet. I use Honeybook for my stuff, but how important is it to use technology?
Yeah, well, I'll give an example of a conference that I recently attended as a speaker. So not a trade show, but there's some similarities. And I was there to generate leads, and the promoter said that I could offer something for free
Mm-hmm.
to the participants when I spoke. And so I used a QR code, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty sure you can, if any of you want to create a QR code and you don't know how to do it, just type the website into Chat GPT and say, create a QR code for me. So I'm speaking
Mm-hmm.
to, I don't know, 160 people, and I put my QR code up on the PowerPoint and I made a free offer to them. And then they pull out their phone and they do the
Mm-hmm.
QR code, which takes them to an opt in page where the person in the audience can put in their email address to get my free offer. Well, what does that do? Everybody that did that, over 100 of them did it, by the way, all
Mm-hmm.
those 100 plus people, they just entered themselves into my CRM. So I didn't
Yeah.
even have to do it, right? And
And
now
that's lead generation 101.
there you go. I got over 100 leads, and now I can let my CRM do the follow-up for me. Like, I'm great at follow-up, but let's say I wasn't, right?
Mhm,
It doesn't matter. The CRM has the leads. I can do an email campaign out to them through the CRM. I can do a text campaign. I can do telemarketing, and those leads are going to stay in my CRM for life. Even if they opt out, the data
mhm,
is still in the CRM. And so let's
right,
say I didn't have a CRM and I go
mhm,
to this trade show or the conference, I wouldn't have had 100 plus people opt in. So
right,
it is very important to think about technology integration in your strategy. There are CRMs out there that have pipeline management that, help you
mhm,
keep track of where you're at in the sales process with the leads.
mhm,
I happen to use a CRM called Go High Level. Whether that's the right one for all of you or not, I mean, it depends on your industry. There's some really great industry specific CRMs, but I think having a lot of thought into technology and technology integration is very important. I would avoid saying things like, well, I'm old school. That's just not how I do it. You know, I'm old school does not help you stay current with the times. So
mm,
I get old school. I've been in the game for 30 years. So I
mhm,
get that. But I don't want to declare I'm
mhm,
old school. I want to stay current with, what are the technologies that can help me to be more successful. And so I think it's really important to embrace all these, current technologies and emerging technologies like
mhm.
AI that can help us.
Yeah, and, people nowadays don't wanna carry around a business card and call later. It's just easier to grab their attention while you're talking to them and entering in their information so they don't forget or they lose the business card or they can't remember. I've also helped someone who just wanted people to sign up for a 15-minute call to go over some, land development or whatever. And I said, well, why don't you put a QR code, and that way you're getting people to sign up right now. You want to fill up your calendar. And once she did that, she had 25% increase in her lead generation just in a couple of hours. So I get it. I mean, I very rarely use paper. I mean, I don't think that, most people have like a tablet or a phone or apps or whatever. It's a lot easier to just use the QR code, enter a couple of things, and then you're done. And it's up to us to follow up, where it's one less thing that they have to worry about. So yes, I'm a big fan of QR codes. I wanted to talk about some of your success stories. Can you give me some examples of businesses that transformed their results after implementing your methods?
Yeah, I'll share two recent ones. And I
Okay.
work with anybody in any industry. These are sales principles; they're not industry specific.
Mm-hmm.
This particular client happens to be a real estate agent. Last month was October, as of this recording. He closed 5 deals. He made a little over $50,000 in a single month. It was the greatest month of his entire career. And how do I create a result like that with somebody? A lot of it, Tammie, has to do with what they're focusing on. What I
Mm-hmm.
mean by that is a lot of people will say, this month, it'll probably be like any other month. I'll probably produce similar results. And we can live into the future versus living from the past. And what that means is we can live into the future as if we're going to have the greatest month we've ever had. And I just had that happen with another client who happens to be a videographer, and she broke 12,000 for the first time in her 18-year career last
What?
month. And I was pointing her, initially I started telling her, I want you to focus on bringing in over 10,000. And she'd never done that before. And then when she was closing in on 10,000, I raised the number on her. And I said, stop focusing on 10. I want you to start focusing on 15. And now
Oh.
I'm encouraging her to focus on 20,000. So the where we're thinking and what we're striving towards has a very big impact on the results that we're producing. And so what I'm pointing all of you that are listening right now to, I'm pointing you to optimism. And
Mhm,
it's not about what you've done in the past. Tony Robbins says the past does not equal the future. It doesn't
mhm,
matter that you've never generated, 50 leads at a trade show. Let's just say that was the number. You could
mhm,
you could come from, you know what? I'm going to produce 50 leads at this trade show. And who do
mhm,
I need to be to do it? I need to be smiling. I need to be off my phone. I need to, every lead counts. I need to, you know, channel my extroverted self. Like, you start
mhm,
thinking about, who do I need to be
mhm.
to create these results I've never created before? And that little insight can be an absolute game changer for all of you that are listening.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's eye contact. I mean, that's what we're taught when we're being introduced to our parents' friends. It's like eye contact, shake their hand with a firm grip. Yeah, I totally get that. So I want to thank Eric for joining us today. And if you would like to sign up for Eric's seminars or workshops or access any of his books, you can connect via the links down below. You can buy his books. You can sign up. You can go to the Morning Sales Boost Monday through Friday, 7:45 a.m. and get a lot of free tips. Or you can also, like Eric said, he's offering a free seminar to sales teams. And you can be anybody. You can be somebody from Etsy who's making bracelets for Christmas. It doesn't have to be, a 500 Fortune 500 company. You can be a little guy, because we all started as little guys, and we don't get to be the big guys until we start with the basics. So I want to thank Eric again. And Eric's journey from struggling salesman to renowned trainer proves that sales excellence can be taught by embracing the principle that selling is an act of service. Focusing on fundamentals and building repeatable systems, businesses can dramatically increase their results, as Eric just mentioned in these two businesses that he was just working with. To learn more about Eric's training programs and resources, you can follow the links down below. Subscribe to the Home Expo podcast for more expert conversations that help you succeed both at home and in business. Again, Eric, I want to thank you so much for all that you do for us in the world. We wish you all the best with all of your sales trainings. And again, if you want to reach Eric, all the links will be down below. And we look forward to our next podcast. Thank you and have a great day.